Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Okay,
afternoon, sir.
I'll be sharing my screen back now. But today I'll be using my mobile device. Kind of having some little challenge with power. Okay, so we'll be continuing from where we stopped in our last class. We're looking at the difference between different operating systems, different mobile devices. So we successfully differentiated an Android device from an iOS device in our previous class. So today we'll be differentiating that of the Linux and Mac operating system. Let me see if I can make this big. Okay, so please can you see my screen? Is my screen clear? I'd just like to get feedback so I can continue. Is my screen visible in your end?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're looking at the Linux and Mac OS or Macintosh operating system, which we know that the Apple uses. So, therefore, we need to understand what Unix is. So, Unix is actually an operating system that is written with the C programming language. So, Mac OS and iOS, which we talked about in our previous class, are were written from with Unix as their foundation. So they were based upon the BSD, which is Berkeley Standard Distribution version of Unix. So also Linux now. Linux is actually an operating system that uses that is used actually in most of our smart wristwatches, cell phones, wearables, some PCs, servers, and supercomputers. And there are so many distributions for Linux operating system. We have the SUSE, we have the Red Hat, we have the CentOS, we have the Fedora, we have the Debian, we have the Ubuntu and the Mint. So remember I installed a virtual machine on my laptop that time. That was actually an Ubuntu Linux operating system. And Linux is actually, operating system is actually what is used to, what Android and many other operating systems rely on. So now for the Macintosh operating system, the operating system for Mac is actually developed from the Unix kernel. It is, however, a closed source operating system. So you can see that Mac OS actually relies on the Unix operating system too. So it is closed source. I explained what closed source and open source means in our previous class when I was explaining on Android about Android and iPhone. So a closed source operating system means that applications that are used on that operating system and the codes that were used to build the operating system are not available for editing. So they are always confined and restricted to only the developers of that particular product. So that's why many things we can do on our Windows operating system. We can install applications, download the applications from online, anywhere, from any website, and install on our operating system. We can't do that on the Mac OS. So you have to always directly download from the App Store. Okay. So overview of the Linux GUI. So different Linux distributions. When I say Linux distributions, remember I spoke about the different distributions which we have here as oh, looks like this can't work without Okay, sorry about that. When I say distributions for Linux, I remember I'm talking about either the SUSE or the Red Hat or CentOS or Fedora or Ubuntu or Mint. So most of them come with different software packages, but users decide what stays in their system. So when you actually have a new laptop or a new Linux system, you can actually see applications like we are seeing right here. Then, okay, this is what I'm looking for. All right, so it's working. All right, so you can actually install applications and remove them if you want to on the regular Linux operating system or Linux computer systems. So the graphic interface in Linux is comprised of a number of subsystems that can also be removed or replaced by the user. So Ubuntu Linux sees Unity as its default GUI. So this is actually the default GUI of Linux operating system, and this is the Unity graphic user interface. That's one of GUI. GUI stands for graphic user interface. So this GUI actually has the ability to have multiple desktop workspaces. So you can have multiple desktops. You can create a new desktop, close this desktop. So just for different purposes. And you can actually visit store.ubuntu.com/en to experience the Unity via canonical website. So while for the Mac OS, let me see if I can zoom this. So the Mac OS is actually different. So the Mac OS comes with the Aqua GUI. So this graphic user interface is kind of different, more like water and the rest. You see a lot of transparency being used on this user interface. So mission control actually allows you to organize your apps on multiple desktop. I don't have a Mac OS, a MacBook here. You know, I have been showing everybody these things. So, and to actually navigate files, you actually use the Finder. So Finder is this, when you hear Finder, it's just like Windows Explorer, where you actually see your videos, your documents. So that's on the Mac OS, it's called the Finder. So Mac OS also allows screen sharing. So this screen sharing now actually enables people to using Mac to be able to see your screen and also operate your computer from their own end. So that's why people that use Apple, they like when you're using an MacBook Pro, which is an Apple product, they like using an iPhone and an iPad. This is because you can actually use screen sharing and you can operate any device from anywhere. So you'll be able to operate your MacBook Pro from your iPad. So in both Linux and Mac OS, the user can communicate with the operating system by using the command line interface, which is the CLI. So to add flexibility, commands or tools that support parameters, options, and switches are usually preceded by the dash character. So most operating systems include a graphical interface. So now this command line interface systems of old actually didn't have a GUI. When you hear a GUI, I mean something like this. So this is actually a GUI, a graphic user interface that allows you to interact with your computer. But when you hear a command line interface, let me see if there's an image. This is actually a command line interface where you just see only text, right? Where you just see only text. So that's the difference. So this system of old didn't actually have a GUI that is more user friendly, but systems then were operated with just the command line interface, where if you want to create a folder, use a command, edit a folder, use a command, add text, use a command, rename a folder or a file, use a command, like everything were just basically commands. So one way to access the command line interface in a GUI-based operating system is through the terminal emulator application. So even on your Windows PCs, you see something called the shell, Windows shell, or command prompts. So that's actually like a terminal. So you can see the way it is shown here. Okay, you can see the way it's shown here. The kernel is actually like the Unity firmware that this is actually built on. Then the shell is like the command line interface. The application program operates on the graphic user interface. So um, a program called a shell interprets the commands from the keyboard and presses them in the operating system. So when a user successfully logs into the computer, into the system, the login program starts the shell. Afterwards, an authorized user can begin interacting with the OS through text-based commands. Now, users interact with the kernel through a shell. The kernel is responsible for allocating CPU time and memory to processes. The kernel also manages the file system and communicates in response to system calls. So you can see that the kernel is actually like the firmware of the computer system, and it actually gives or allocates different resources to different processes that are being run on the computer system. And for example, let me say I'm copying a file or some files into my computer system. It allocates some level of CPU power to the copying of those files, some level percentage of RAM to the copying of those files. Then I can be able to do other things while I'm copying files simultaneously. That's actually one of the importance and advantage of computer system. You can multitask. So it's able to multitask and do several things at the same time. Okay, now macOS includes a backup tool called Time Machine. So it actually helps you to prepare a backup drive. So with Time Machine, users choose an external drive to be used as a backup destination device. So you can have an external hard drive plugged into your system, then use Time Machine to set it up and set it as your default backup drive. So whenever you plug in that drive to your system, it automatically updates the files in your drive. Okay, and you don't have you might not really be able to have anything or situation as missing files. So one thing you need to understand about backup is actually just a process of duplicating your files or having your files saved in multiple places so that you do not lose files. That's just the essence of backing up files. So and also to help solve these related problems, for example, let me say your hard drive crashed, or you're not seeing some kind of files on your hard drive. You are going to
image. See what you do there. Let's move. Try to pick one. Type it. So you come here, type snipe. All system, once you. That's what I use. You are supposed to shoot it. Part of what I use. Or you still want 1-1.
But it is okay because other
That would be baptism. Thank you. For it and right click. No, correctly. Save as image. So once
Not
you
that
save as
video.
image, no, save as image, you're going to download it now. But even this of desktop, so if you save on desktop, I'll show you the two. This is what I'm doing. I'm saving it on the desktop. So it's there already. Come to the desktop. See the first one, but please see the second one. These are the first one look like. Good job. It's gonna network on the phone. So these are, you can zoom it if you want. So these are to show. Click.
as in the picture.
Yeah, this picture now. I see it. I see the second one will show. I see the second one. Without that,
So if it is video,
video you need to download.
let me take picture. Download it.
And later too.
So for the fact that this thing is already here, any topics that I want to go and check with you.
Come back here, click on it like this. Then you say new. Always remember to click on new. You want to click on new to come this way. Then you cut. If I click down and drag.
Toby, your mic is on. Mr. Toby, your mic is on.
Okay, sorry, I just found out that I lost you. So let me just go back to sharing my screen and present. Okay. Okay, please, can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, where did you lose me? So I can continue from there. Hello, where did you lose me, please? So I'll be able to continue from there.
Uh,
Sorry?
okay, like you go, you have to move forward a bit. Move forward a bit.
Oh,
And you are talking about backing up and recovery, something like that.
okay, backing up and recovery.
Recovery. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
this is it.
yeah. Yes,
All right.
yeah, around this age.
So I said that backing up your files is just like duplicating your file and storing it in a different drive so that in case there's any loss of file in your current drive, you can always get that file back on your backup drive. So Ubuntu systems, Linux systems do not have an automatic or a built-in backup utility like Mac OS. Mac OS actually has a backup utility called Time Machine. So this Time Machine works by you. Let me say you have an external hard drive. You plug it into your MacBook Pro, and you set up that external hard drive as your backup drive with this Time Machine app. So you can see where you can turn it on and off from this screenshot that is by the right of my screen. So when this happens, it automatically update that drive whenever you make changes to a file. Let me say I edit a document. So if I edit a document finish, a Word document finish, and I close the Word document, and I plug down my backup drive. Once immediately I plug down my backup drive to my MacBook Pro, it automatically updates the documents on that backup drive. So my backup drive will be up to date. Then I was talking about disk utilities. So disk utilities helps to manage your disk. And the disk utility in Ubuntu Linux is called disk, DISCS. So, and while that of Mac OS is called disk utility. Now, this actually helps you to perform some certain functions such as partition management, mount or unmount a disk partition, format your disk, bad sector check, then query smart attributes. So query smart attributes actually helps you to predict disk or incoming disk failures. So, and back sector check is actually common or used in hard disk drives because they are metallic drives or optical drives also, so that there are some sections on the disk that might not longer be profitable or good for storing data. So your system will actually avoid storing data in those sections of that disk. Then disk format, the disk utility actually helps you to format your disk. Then unmount or mount a disk partition. So this unmounting is just like when you have your memory card even inside your Android device. If you click on unmount, you no longer actually see your memory card files on your phone. But once you click on mount, it will now make your memory card files visible to your phone. So the same way in computer systems, when you unmount a drive, whatever is inside that drive, it no longer be visible to your computer system. But when you mount the drive, it will now become visible. The partition management, just like I explained in the Windows system, it helps you to partition your drives. So you can actually split your hard drive into two different partitions. So it will now separate your hard disk drive. Let me say you have 300 gig, you now partition it. You can now say, okay, I'm going to partition it into two, make one part 150 gig, the other part 150 gig. So instead of my 300 gig to show as one drive, it's now going to show as two different drives, as 150 gig for the first partition, 150 gig for the second partition. Then operating system updates. Now, these are also known as patches. So OS updates are done or released periodically for these different systems, whether Linux or Mac OS. And another thing we also need to know is firmware updates. So it's actually, a firmware is actually a kind of software that is designed to perform low-level functionality for a device. So that low-level functionality is actually what helps to the different components to communicate with each other. It's just like your BIOS in your Windows system. So the BIOS is actually a firmware. Then also you need to update your antivirus and anti-malware. So these antiviruses, they actually rely on code signatures to operate. When I say code signatures, they study the codes of applications, so just so that they can know if it's actually a malicious software or not. So on the Windows system, what you actually see is Windows security. But now let's look at the okay, but on the Mac OS, you can actually install your antivirus just like we have external antiviruses for your Windows computer. You also have that for your Linux and your Mac OS. Then let's security now. You can actually put password, digital certificates, encryption keys, and some other security credentials to your MacBook or your Ubuntu operating system or Linux operating system. Now, this security can be a password, it can be a PIN, it can be even your fingerprint or face recognition. So on the Ubuntu device, if you want to actually set passwords, you can just go to your settings and search for key. When you see key, you now check password and keys. But while for the Mac OS, you go to applications, go to utilities, and go to keychain access. So now, there are some keywords or commands in the command line interface, but there are some things that it is dependent on. So which is the permission, the link, user, group, file size, and date and time, file name. So for you to navigate the command line interface, you need to understand permissions. So permissions actually defines how a user can access files or directories. So there are some, let me say you added another user to your system, let me say a guest, or you have created a new account for your children, so which is not going to be an administrator account. So they won't have access to some kind of folders in your computer system, especially folders that contain some system files or some drivers. So they won't have access to manipulate files in those folders. So link actually is the number of directories inside a directory. For example, if you open, let me say I want to open my pictures inside my photos folder. So when I open my photos folder, I'm going to say camera roll. When I open camera roll, let me say I created another group there. So that camera photos is actually link 1. Camera roll that I opened inside photo is actually link 2. Then my image that is inside that camera roll to be likened as link 3. Then users. So it actually displays the name of the owner of the file or a directory. Then group, the name of group that owns a file or directory. File size displays the size in bytes. Then date and time, the date and time of the last modification, date and time of the file was created. Then file name displays the file or directory name. So there are some file permissions that Unix use. So to organize system and reinforce boundaries within the system, Unix uses file permissions. So these permissions actually define how an action that define the kind of actions that the owner or a group or account, another user can have or do with a file or directory. So the only user who can actually modify a file permission is actually the root user. In Unix, it's called the root user, but on Windows, you hear something like administrator. So I explained that when I was talking about Windows. So the root access is often required before performing maintenance and administrative tasks. You can see it's administrative tasks here. So which means that's why the administrator. But in Unix, it's called the root user. So some administrators use the terminal to monitor and control user processes, IP addresses, and other tasks. So things like commands like PASSWD, which is password, allows the user to change their own password at the terminal. So you can, when you open the terminal, you type in password PASSWD, you're going to be able to change your password. Then PS allows users to monitor their own processes. Q allows users to end processes, just like when you open your task manager on Windows. When you click on end task, it actually ends a process or closes shuts down an application from running. So that's the meaning of kill in the command line interface. So if config, similar to Windows IP config command. However, this command is deprecated and the IP address command should be used. So this command actually might not necessarily be used again because there's a new command which is IP address. So other commands are like iwconfig, which allows you to configure your wireless settings, then chmod, which allows you to change the permissions of files. Then for the Linux administrative commands requiring root access, sudo. So super user do. So sudo is actually a command that grants the user access without actually changing their profile. So this command, let me say you want to install a software, you actually need or require a root user to be able to install a software to the computer. But if you use the sudo command, you are going to actually be allowed or permitted to install that application. Then chown, which is allows you to switch both the owner and the group of a file or files. So we also have the apt-get, the shutdown, the disk duplicate, which is DD, which is used to copy files and partitions and create temporary swap files. So that's the major difference between the Linux operating system and the Mac operating system. So next now, I'm going to actually be moving to the next chapter, which is chapter 13. Let me open up the file. So chapter 13 talks about security. And in this chapter, although it's a very long one, we have over 100 slides. So I might need to even rush some part of it. So we're going to be talking about security procedures, secure your Windows workstation, wireless security, and basic troubleshooting processes for security. So let's look at security threats. Now, different security threats include malware. There are many types of threats created to disrupt computers and networks. So the greatest and most common threat for computers and data contained on them is malware. So malware actually is actually a software that is installed on a computer without the user's knowledge. And once the host is affected, the malware could change your computer configuration, delete files or corrupt your hard drive, collect information stored in your computer without your consent, open extra windows on your computer, or redirect the browser. So when a malware is installed on your computer system without you knowing, you might actually be trying to browse and it's going to redirect you to a different page. Then I'm not talking about ads now. Some ads actually do that to your computer, to your browsers, but malwares can also do that too. Then different sources of malware. Now, these are different sources of malware, which is visiting infected websites, downloading a free program. You know, when you go and look for, some of us are looking for free version of softwares, you might end up downloading malwares because they might have encrypted malwares into those free softwares they are downloading from those strange websites. So computer infected by another infected host. So when you connect your computer system to another computer system, maybe through Wi-Fi or through an Ethernet cable, you might get infected with a malware. So another reason or cause of malware is when your antivirus software is outdated. You know, many of us use these paid antiviruses where we just go to a shop, a computer shop, purchase an antivirus, and we don't update some of all these softwares. Meanwhile, malwares or all these hackers, they are actually updating and upgrading themselves so that they can keep collecting information from people's devices without their knowledge. So when you go and purchase an antivirus or an antivirus software or anti-malware software outside, always ensure that you do update that software. So opening unsolicited email. So when you see an email that is strange, they just tell you click on this link, you just go and hit it. Once you hit it and the page opens, sorry, you have been baited, and you might actually already have a malware installed on your computer system. Opening attachments sent in instant messenger, social media sites also. We see a lot of this. That's how a lot of people's WhatsApp are being hacked. They just open their WhatsApp, they see a strange number sending them a link. WhatsApp have even upgraded now. There's something that they do. Once the person's number is not saved on your phone, if the person sends you a link, you will not be able to click on that link until you save that number. So when you have saved the phone number before you're able to click on the link. So WhatsApp just developed, that's a kind of security procedure to avoid people from being hacked. Then web browser not patched for new vulnerability. So web browsers are always updated. So always do it to upgrade your Chrome, update your Microsoft Edge and the rest. So they have their reasons. They have their reasons for updating these softwares. They are hackers. Trust me, hackers are always updated. Those guys they work hard to ensure that they're able to beat the security system of some of these softwares or your computer system and get into your system. That's just they just want to get into your system. So exchanging files on file sharing sites. So even through flash drives, you can get malware through flash drives, which is inserting a USB stick that you found in a public area. So there was a time I went to a school to actually teach some students, some pupils, some tech stuff, and these students have actually been sharing files to each other through flash drive. So what I usually do before I actually even collect my flash drive back, I will use one of their computer system, the most trusted computer system there, and format my flash drive before removing it, before putting it to my own system. So that's actually a good way to avoid being infected by malwares, because I actually opened one of these kids' laptop and I found out that a malware have already encrypted all her files, such that all the icons on our files, both applications, both folders, the icons have changed to black, to a black broken icon, something that is broken, to show that like the virus was crazy. Like, it was really crazy. The only solution there was just to wipe the system clean. So different malwares and viruses and Trojan horses. So the first and most common type of computer malware is a virus. So virus require human action to propagate and infect other computers. So a virus hides by attaching itself to computer code, software, or documents on the computer. When opened, the virus executes and infects the computer. So these actually viruses can come. This is how viruses actually spread in your computer system, because there's something in your computer system that is called autoplay. Now, autoplay, and there are also autoplay viruses. Autoplay in the sense that making you plug your flash drive to your computer system, you find out that the flash drive will automatically open. It will open your file explorer or Windows Explorer and show you the files that are inside. Now, that action that enabled your computer to open up your flash drive immediately is called autoplay. So this actually enables those autoplay viruses to enter into your system files. So, or attack. So once these viruses are being attached to some applications, some .exe files, executable files, or documents, once you open those documents, they automatically run and they execute their commands. So cyber criminals also use Trojan horses to compromise hosts. Now, this one is very, 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 very bad. So a Trojan horse is a program that looks useful but also carries malicious code. So Trojan horses are often provided with free online programs such as computer games. This is one way Trojan horses spread through computer games. So some of our kids might love playing games and go to different sites, so they might end up downloading a Trojan horse. I've run into such before, and trust me, it was really crazy. Trojan horse actually shut down my computer security. Like, my Windows Defender was actually shutting down. I was not able to turn it on again. It destroyed my system. I wiped my system. It was still there. I flashed it again. It was still there. It took almost forever for me to deal with that Trojan horse. So types of malware, we have hardware can display unsolicited advertising using pop-up web browser windows, new toolbars, or unexpectedly redirect a web page to a different website. So that's an hardware. So it's actually ad. You can see ads, advertisements. So it's those advertisements. That's the purpose of that hardware. Ransomware. So ransomware typically denies the user access to their files by encrypting the files and then displaying a message demanding a ransom for the encryption key. Now, one of my friends actually ran into this when he was trying to download a free software. Now, making a random executable, the exe file that they named it, they named the file the name of the software he wanted to download. So immediately downloaded it. I wanted to install it. Once he ran the file, it encrypted all his files, documents, applications, programs, so he could actually do nothing with his laptop. So even if he copies a new file there, it encrypts it immediately. And when you try to open a file, they will not tell you that you should pay so amount of money to so account before you can decrypt your files. So they'll not send you a decryption key to decrypt your file. So that's called ransomware. So you see that why it's good to always back up your files to an external drive. So when you just come in contact with these ransomwares, you just wipe your system. Once you just format your system, flash it, put back your files, continue your life. So another one is called the rootkits. So these are difficult to detect and are used by cyber criminals to gain admin level access to a computer. So this actually gives cyber criminals administrator rights, so they can operate your laptop from where they are once they are connected to the internet. This is very, 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 very crazy. So they can manipulate your administrator's settings. They can even change your password for you to log into your computer system. Like, it is that crazy. So that's what these rootkits do. Then spyware. Spyware is similar to hardware, but is used to gather information about the user and send it back to cyber criminals. So this spyware actually targeted to most of the time are rich folks. So just so that they can get their credit card details, credit card information, so they can just, most some kids might not be wise, and they can use an hardware to give them a spyware. So an hardware in the sense that they create an ad show them something to buy, like, wow, this thing is very good. And from that hardware, trying to purchase that in that unknown website, they just collect a spyware. Now that spyware now will be active, and while they are inputting their credit card details or debit card details into information into the website, it automatically copies those information and sends it to cyber criminals. So you now they might now end up having unknown debit alerts for online transactions that they didn't make. This is because spywares have been used to capture their information and have been sold. So these are things that people in the dark web actually do. So worms, we have worms, and these worms are self-replicating programs that propagate automatically without user actions by exploiting vulnerabilities in softwares. So these worms actually replicate themselves. You see sometimes a file if you delete it, you see it again. If you delete the file, you see it again. So that's actually a worm. And the only way you can get rid of that one is to delete the original, because that's only a duplicate you're deleting. So the original file only comes up for a few seconds. So it reveals itself for a few seconds. After that few seconds, it hides itself again. So when it reveals itself, it creates a duplicate. So what it actually do, it exploits vulnerability in different softwares. So anti-malware programs. It is important that you protect computers and mobile devices using reputable antivirus software. Today, antivirus programs are commonly referred to as anti-malware programs. Anti-malware programs can detect and block Trojans, rootkits, ransomware, spyware, keyloggers, and hardware programs. Anti-malware programs continuously look for known patterns against a database of known malware signatures. So they can also use heuristic malware identification techniques, which can detect specific behavior associated with some types of malware. So you can see the way antiviruses work here. They actually detect some kind of patterns. So you know your computer system actually has a log. A log is more like every instruction that has been carried out in your computer system actually goes into the log. So your antivirus software actually monitors that log, looks for patterns of different malwares or Trojans or spywares or ransomware. Look for those patterns. Once it detects that patterns, you know that this kind of malware has been installed into your computer system. It can monitor files, monitor the pattern at which they operate. If there is some kind of pattern that is similar to that of a malware, it automatically flags it as red and shows that there is a virus in your computer system that you should deal with it. And one thing you need to know about viruses are actually codes. Just like your applications are codes written by programmers. So viruses are actually codes written by programmers. So they are coded. These codes perform functions that the code says. Okay. What is happening? Okay. Signature file updates. New malware is always being developed. Therefore, malware software must be updated. Remember what I said. So you must always update your antiviruses. Don't just buy antiviruses, purchase antiviruses outside, and you will not be updating them. That's why I don't even use antiviruses that people purchase outside. I don't even advise that. Windows, for example, if you're using a Windows system, Windows has an inbuilt antivirus, which is called the Windows Security. So Windows Security actually updates with time. You see it always pop up. Windows Security needs to be updated. Update Windows Security, or anyhow that pop-up usually shows. So you always make sure you update your Windows Security, because these viruses are always new. They always update them to try and overcome like for example, if they find out that their pattern has been known, so once that pattern has been able to be spotted by many antiviruses, they'll have to upgrade, change pattern. You see why you need to update your antivirus. So once these patterns have been changed, your antivirus might not be able to spot it again. So you need to update your antivirus to spot the new kind of pattern. So that's why you must upgrade your antivirus. And when downloading signature files from a mirror, ensure that the mirror site is a legitimate site. So most times when you download something, you see mirror, download mirror. So this is actually a duplicate of that file that has been uploaded to another online platform. So ensure when you're downloading a mirror, you get the link from the legitimate website. Today there are a lot of fake websites. In fact, you might even search advanced antivirus. You see a lot of advanced websites. You won't even know the one that is the original website. So always be sure that it is the original website before downloading. So remediating infected systems. When a malware protection program detects that a computer is infected, it removes or quarantines the threat. However, the computer is most likely still at risk. Many anti-malware programs can be sent to run on system start before loading Windows. So removing malware may require the computer to be rebooted into safe mode. It may be necessary to contact a specialist to ensure that the computer has been completely cleaned. Otherwise, the computer may need to be reformatted. This is what I was saying. The operating system reinstalled, is what I was saying, and your data recovered from the most recent backup. You see what I just said earlier? You might even need to format your system or flash. And when you flash your system, you will need to reinstall Windows again, so that you are sure that that malware is no longer present. So even when you want to do a system restore as a part of or a remediation, a way of remediating infected system, those previous different old restore points might also be infected. That's just the truth. So most importantly, it's even more advisable to those system restore points should be deleted. And if there's any need, always format your system or uninstall the flash system and do a fresh installation of Windows if you know you have been attacked, so that you won't run into such problems again. So network networks are targets. So attacker is looking for network information about a target using Google search. Who is and other tools. Attackers initiate a ping sweep of the discovered target's public network address to determine which IP addresses are active. Attackers determine which services are available on the active ports using Nmap, Superscan, and other tools. Attackers run vulnerability scanner to discover the type of applications and OS running on the targeted host using NIPA, SUCAN, PSI, and other tools. Attackers attempt to discover vulnerable services to exploit using Metasploit, Core Impact, and other tools. So you can see that these attackers actually have a lot of tools that they use. So you are at risk even on the internet. Once you are online, you are at risk. You should always know that you are at risk once you are online. So that's why you must always need online security. So they have Windows Defender actually comes with an online security. So if you are installing an antivirus from a third party, let me say you purchase antivirus from a computer shop, what you need to do, ensure that antivirus has online security attached, because once you install antivirus from a third party into your computer system, it automatically turns off your Windows Defender, which means your computer security now is absolutely and totally dependent on the antivirus that you installed. So different types of attacks could be denial of service attack, which is DOS, or distributed denial of service attack, which is DDoS. So DOS is an attack where the attacker completely overwhelms a target device with false requests to create a denial of service for legitimate users. This actually so this is common to companies, because companies always connect their users into one Wi-Fi. So these attackers could use denial of service. So the distributed denial of service is amplified DOS attack using many infected hosts called zombies to overwhelm a target. You know, these guys are very, very creative. You see something, you could see some crazy images on your system when you are being attacked. You could see something like a zombie. How many zombies? So they're actually telling you how many systems. When you see like something, an image, or if something that looks like a game, and you see zombies, I'm sorry, just know your system have been attacked. So the amount of zombies you are seeing there is actually the number of systems that are infected. So we also have DNS poisoning. This is an attack when the attacker has successfully infected and to accept false DNS records pointing to malicious servers. So man in the middle is an attack where the attacker intercepts communication between two hosts, which is somebody just intercepts the communication between you and your colleague in office. So they actually used from that means to collect information that is being passed from an administrator. So you can see how information in banks are being collected. So when you see things like so amount just remote disappear from your account, you don't know how. It could be man in the middle. They collect information from banks. These guys attack our banks. See, Nigerian banking system has very, very poor security. So we face a lot of these things. Sometimes when you hear there's no network, it could even be that they've attacked them with a ransomware and they've asked them to pay some money. So you will not see for a long time that our bank is not functioning. It's because they've not paid the ransom that they're supposed to pay. They might have been attacked with a ransomware and have been asked to pay some amount of money. So replay a type of spoofing attack where the attacker captures an authenticated packet, alters it, and sends it to the original destination. These are how informations in the bank are being tweaked. So, for example, when you want to transfer money to somebody from an online site, you just find out that the money did not go to the person, it goes to another person instead. So that's because the information has been tampered with. The account number has been changed, and the money will now end up going to another account. When you go to the bank, you say, but you send money to this account. So why is it saying that you send this amount of money to another account? You find out that's because the information has been attacked. That's through replay. So spoofing is an attack where the attacker forges an IP address to gain access to resources. So spoofing, this one is more technical when it comes to networking. So they actually manipulate or create an IP address so that they can be joined to one of the hosts that are connected to a network. So sign flood is a type of denial of service attack that exploits the TCP three-way handshake. So TCP, remember TCP is a kind of system whereby if you send a message, there's always a handshake. So there's a notification on your device that the message has been received. Then you also have things like 0 day, 0 hour. So 0 day sometimes referred to as a 0 day attack or 0 day threat or 0 day exploit. This is the day that an unknown vulnerability has been discovered by the vendor. This term is referred to the amount of time that the vendor has had to address the vulnerability. 0 hour is the moment when the exploit is discovered. So protecting against network attackers. There is no single solution to protect against all TCP, IP, or 0 day attackers. So one solution is to use a defense in-depth approach, also known as the layered approach to security. This requires a combination of networking device and services working together in tandem. All network devices, including the router and switches, must be secured to prevent attackers from tampering with the devices. So you can see where cybersecurity engineers come in. So they are the ones that monitor this and ensure that man, they keep attackers out of your network, because the network, the internet, let me just call it that, is where we have attackers. There are some guys just seated with their laptop just because they want to attack. That's just their work. That's how they make money on the attack. They make money like this. They just use spoofing. They use the what are the other ones again that I made mention of? Man in the middle, that's what I was trying to remember. Man in the middle, just to make money. This is how they make some attacker. They just make their money. No hard, and they collect their money in ways that cannot be tracked. Okay, so that's why you must always protect your systems. Now, let's look at social engineering. Cybercriminals use social engineering techniques to deceive unsuspecting targets into revealing confidential information. So you can see when I talked about a rich man's kid who wants to purchase something online, so that's actually social engineering. They convince you to purchase things online, so or click on some certain things. So you now hear things like clickbait. So that's an example of social engineering. If you want to learn this now, click here. Social engineering. If you want to get rid of this, click here. Social engineering. So social engineering is an access attack that attempts to manipulate individuals into performing actions or divulging confidential information. Social engineers often rely on human nature and people's willingness to be helpful. So you can see this. So note, social engineering is often used in conjunction with other network attacks. So you can see what I explained earlier right here. So different social engineering techniques include pretexting. So an attacker pretends to need personal data in order to confirm the identity of the recipient. These are the ways people hack. They hack people's WhatsApp. They tell me, okay, I need you. I'm trying to rectify the problem now. I need you to send me the OTP that has been sent to your phone now. So once they send the OTP, boom, they are in. They've sabotaged your account. So the next one is phishing. Phishing, an attack is fraudulent email disguising as being from a trusted source. This one is very common. If you check your spam, you see a lot. Even normal, your main emails, you still see a lot there. So, sphere phishing, an attacker creates a targeted phishing attack for a specific individual or organization. So that's, you now have a target audience, a targeted audience. That's sphere phishing. So you're attacking people only in this sphere. Most attack people in, let me say, Google, or people that work in Google, or people that work in corn oil. So that's what's called sphere phishing. So spam, unsolicited email, which often contains harmful links, malware, or deceptive content. Something for something. When an attacker requests personal information in exchange for something. Baiting, an attacker leaves a malware infected flash drive in a public location. Please warn your kids. Very, very important. Warn your kids, because these guys they just buy. See, flash drive is very easy to get, and your kids might not have access to this flash drive. So it's better for you to even purchase one for them, so they don't end up seeing one on the road and picking it up. Very important. That could be a way to bait you. So once that flash drive plug into your own system, my God, you're finished. They are inside your system already, because your system play is already on. So once the flash drive is connected, they've attached themselves to that virus to your computer system files, and from there it keeps on executing commands that goes into your administrator files and gain administrator commands. From there, they can even change your password. From there, they record your credentials online. It's a lot. In fact, I don't want to talk a lot. So impersonation, attacker pretends to be someone they are not. You see this one a lot online. You see someone call you, Chinedu. Chinedu now, Chinedu, your friend, the one you met that day. That's impersonation. Tailgating, an attacker follows an unauthorized person into a secure area. Now, This one is common. It can happen physically, it can happen on the network. Shoulder surfing. An attacker looks over someone's shoulder to steal information. This can be done from the network very well when they hack into the CCTVs in your office. So they just track people and get information they need from the company. Then dumpster diving. An attacker searches through trash for confidential information. So when you just, most times I go to always clear your recycle bin and shred documents. When I say shred documents, in companies, if you work in a company or you work in a company that do a lot of printing of documents, especially banks. So you see banks, when they have all those papers like they collect from you, they don't just dispose those papers anyhow. Imagine a paper where your BVN is written. Think about it. What do you think they do with those papers? Do you think they will just dispose it like that? No, not possible. If they do that, then they are actually selling your information to attackers. So there are people that their work is just to go to the dumpster and collect these documents to check for people's private information. So what they do to all those documents is that they shred them. They are being shredded. So to shred is just to tear paper into several pieces such that it will be hard to resolve. So there's even something called a shredder. So it's for shredding documents. So protecting against social engineering. I think this is where I will just end today, then we'll continue. This is a very, very, very long one. So protecting against social engineering attacks, things you should do. Never give your username or password credentials to anyone. Never leave your username or password credentials where they can easily be found. For some of us, we write these things in our book and drop the books anyhow. Never open emails from untrusted sources. If you're not expecting email from something and you see the email, please don't open it. Even if you open up the email, don't click any link there. You did not expect that email. So it means that your email has been sold out to some of all these attackers. Some of us, we just go fill forms, Google Forms anyhow. Free code bootcamp, free these ones. So you go, you put your email, okay. Some of these guys, their work is just to gather. Some of them are, do you know that some for us that apply for job posts online, there are a lot of fake jobs. You see jobs that you apply for online and you don't receive even a rejection email. So those are fake job posts. So what they do is that they just gather information, gather people's information, gather their email address, date of birth, name, this and that, and sell it to these attackers. So never release work-related information on social media sites. Never reuse work-related passwords. Some of us, we don't know how to use password. We don't know. Some of us, we don't like changing password. We use only one password for everything. And most of us will always use our date of birth, our year, or maybe one of our child's date of birth. It's not, that is a very poor way of securing your information. Don't use passwords like that. Don't repeat passwords. For me, I have, for my different emails, I have different passwords, different websites, different passwords. So you could just secure a pattern in your mind that only you knows that pattern. Like even if you affiliate a password to something that is not associated to you directly, always lock or sign out of your computer when unattended. So some of us just leave our laptops open in our offices. This is actually a way whereby we even watching movies now. Like you see when someone just leaves the office and leaves the computer unlocked, and someone just runs inside the office, plugs flash drive, copy a huge amount of information, goes out, and boom, the next thing we hear of story. So always report suspicious individuals. Always destroy confidential information according to the organization's policy. So you can see what I was talking about, that the banks do. They don't just destroy those papers like that. They do them according to bank. They can even burn them. They go to that extent of burning those documents. So I think this outcome, this has brought today's class to an end. So in our next class, we'll be continuing from security procedures, and we'll go on and explore how to secure ourselves, secure our devices, secure our personal information, even in our workplaces, because we need to secure our work files. There are schools where every teacher has a laptop. You can see you are not, as even as a teacher self, if your information of or your students are being stored online. For example, your student results, a student can actually hack into your computer system and go and change or manipulate his or her results. So these are things that you should always avoid or prevent from happening. So imagine if your student spams you with a spyware, gets your credentials, your login information, and boom, goes into your computer system, even when you lock it and leave your office, breaks into your office, goes to your computer system, manipulates the result, goes back home, as though nothing happened, and fake results to their parents. So these are things that happen. Okay, so very quickly, I'll be taking questions. Is there any question anybody would like to ask? Any question, anybody? Does anybody have any question? Okay. So no question. All right. I guess we'll call it a day for today, and we would see in our next class. Oh, I'm seeing some chats now. Someone is saying the volume is very low. I'm very sorry about that. I'm going to ensure my voice is very clear next time and loud. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you in our next class.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.